On the next episode of 6-1 Forward, it's the one and only Rooster.
You know, people ask me what was I doing 20 years ago. I was running a polarizing blog called The Rooster in high school. Like before it was a blog, before social media. And like that was kind of like, I arrived on the scene early in high school. And so, you know, I was saying the same stuff people had said back, like they said for generations, but I was first like put it on the internet. And I was like, okay, the Rooster was supposed to be like perfect. Cause I planned to do like early in the morning, it was going to be sports and culture. And then the political perverts overran the list. And then ever since June 2022, it's kind of like you can like pinpoint where, like I had some big hits, the Jenny's article, Urban Meyer story, and June 22 from when it like has gone up.
I knew the Harding piece, but I didn't know what grade you transferred to River Valley.
10th grade.
10th grade.
Yeah.
So you graduated from there.
Yeah.
And then?
I went to Montana because I was watching, you know, highlight reels in homeroom of like, because I was going to be in the intelligence. I was going to be an intelligence officer. And then they get you out in Reynoldsburg. They get you in your tighty whities. And like, if you lie to us today, you lie, it doesn't matter if it's a year, if it's 10 years, you were going to throw you in prison and take all the money we owe you. It doesn't matter. And you shook, you know, I'm like a white kid, like, like that. And like in your underwear. And then the kindly doctor comes in and he's like, sir, have you ever smoked marijuana? I was like, I guess. And it was the 117 Ways to Be a Soldier campaign. I had 110. Brother, when I tell you I caught to smoking weed 5 times in high school, that list went to 4. It was like a ammo specialist, some textile specialist, and like paratrooper. I was like, well, I'll jump out of some airplanes. That sounds cool. My mom was already in shambles. Like she hated the idea. And then I came home. I was supposed to be, you know, I'm sitting behind a desk. Don't worry about it. Like I'm going to be running psychological operation on brown people. It'll be fine. I came home as a paratrooper going out of Fort Benning, and she just instantly fell apart. And then just watching Iraq and, you know, I'm like, I'm not, you know, no Iraqis ever called me cracker. So I pulled the plug on that. And then it was like, well, I hadn't been trying in school. I'm going in the Army. Like right. I've got my setup. So I got rejected from Bowling Green, if that's how you, I think I'm like the only person that's ever, especially an Ohio student, that's been rejected from Bowling Green.
What year was this?
05. Went out to Montana for a couple years. Things were going well out there. Got into trouble out there. Came back here to Ohio State and kind of just drank and partied. Fell out of Ohio State and was doing like medical studies and stuff. But then I caught on with 11 Warriors. Worked my way up to there. And that's kind of the trajectory I've been on. But it wasn't straight and narrow. It's definitely hasn't been easy.
No, and you're really open about your sober.
Yeah. And like, I'm like stone cold sober now. Like, because first 6 months, it was like, how are you doing this? It's like, well, I'm high 24/7.
Right.
And then I ran into that, and I kind of, you know, it's like an ongoing thing. Like, you know, I am an addict, and I've come to realize that there's no normal with me. And the saying, like, you know, one isn't enough, and like whatever it is, 1 in 1,000, that's true for me. And so I've kind of been able to harness that. And like, if you would have told me, you know, I've never bought we had legal weed for like 3 years or whatever it's been, I haven't bought a dime sack, I would have spit in your face. I'd be like, what? But it's the best decision I've ever been in my life. It's the only reason I've been able to, you know, keep a marriage together, keep a relationship together for the first time in my life. You know, if anybody out there is thinking like, I got a problem, you probably do. And you're never going to regret. You know, if you go 90 days sober, you're not gonna be, oh man, I really regret that. Like it's been beneficial to everything that I do.
How would your mom describe your job?
Probably just an extension of who I am. We were at cooking class, you know, the other night, and in Columbus State, and some guy came up, he's like a subscriber, and he came up to me, and then she takes moments like that, and then she'll be like, you know, my son runs the Rooster. And people are like, what the hell, you know, who the hell's the Rooster? It's like, settle down, mom. Like, I think because she was very political. I blame her. She took me to Bill Clinton's inauguration.
She did?
Yeah, in 1992. And I got swept up in that. And you know, looking back, it's like, well, she endured 8 years of Reagan, 4 years of Bush. Bill Clinton comes along. I just remember being swept up in like, this is a watershed moment. Like, America is this history, like patriotic.
Right.
You know, and then he signed NAFTA, gutted Marion. I put the final straw on that. Then he turned out to be, you know, an Epstein associate.
And here we are.
And that kind of set you can trace that moment of my politics from that, you know, like kind-hearted, noble boy to like the jaded, disfigured sewer creature that sits before you today.
Do you think that you knew in Marion back then, your mom being a Dem, there's not a lot. Do you remember? I don't remember in Marion really recognizing, except for a few people, where they stood politically.
Yeah, it was I mean, I remember Mayor Jack Kellogg.
Correct.
Correct. That's it. Mayor Jack Kellogg, we would have made him king, I think, if we could. I think he's still alive, but I know last I saw he was like hosting fundraisers for Jim Jordan. I don't remember. I know there are some Dems there, like it's like more active than I would have remembered. But it was by high school, you know, I was just ready to I was ready to get out of that place. I was like, I want to go as far away as I possibly can. And that was going to be Wright State or Youngstown State till I saw Montana playing football in the national title game. They were D1 AA, so a step below Ohio State. And I was just like, that looks like a fun time.
Well, I always say, I think you're one of the most famous, if not the most famous person to come out of Marion.
Well, you know, it depends on how you define fame. I mean, there's Dana Burns, who doesn't spell it like me. She's
turns out she's pretty famous too. She, yes, for those of you who don't know, she was found to be a very close associate of Epstein and Maxwell.
Yeah,
went to high school.
Was recruiting girls with her. Yeah, I went 2 years, but I didn't remember the name. And I saw it. I was like, oh yeah, like I remember her recruiting girls, sending emails to Epstein like 2014, like I hope it's covered, happy birthday wishes. It's like, ugh. Then there's Taya Parker. She won Rock of Love.
I mean, I went to high school with her. Yes, she did win Rock of Love. And I think she was.
And then Brett suffered an aneurysm like 6 weeks later. There's some people. Yeah, there's some people up there. My mom always wants me to go back. Every time I go back, it's like, this city has not changed. It's the only city in Central Ohio. Like Lewis Center has been built in. My mom's like, I want to live in Lewis Center. It's like, what? And then like they built like entire, like they've taken farmland into like, suburban walkable metropolises, and Marion's just
the same.
The same. We just took out the Friendlies, and now it's a check cashing place on 423.
The Friendlies. Well, and you are back up there.
Yeah, I go
regularly.
Not as much as my mom would like, because I don't drive.
Right.
So now I'm at the point. It's like that's another part of my business. I could expand by having a car, because you can't ride your bike up to Cleveland. I mean, you can, but
so let's talk about the bike.
Yeah,
because you're a poster child for mass transit.
Yeah, I'm big. Took the Hateful Eight here.
Yeah. Have you ever had a car?
Oh yeah. I've had a car. I was in a I was a typical car person. And then I was involved in a very serious single car accident in 2020.
Okay.
Woke up, jaw shattered, broken ribs, broken ankle, which I've since rebroken on my bike. And that was like when and most people look at that and be like, hey man, you might have a drinking problem. Like, I doubled down in typical Marionaire fashion for 2 more years, but now I take, Zoloft and SSRIs, and that's kind of like helped mellow me. But then when I was driving, I would just anxiety. Even like this day, I don't even like driving around with Hilltop Husband, because she's got a bit of a lead foot, and she gets anxiety, and it's like, it's karma for what I put, my former partners through driving. And it's just like, if the car gets like too close, where I'm like jittery, like I'm legit scared of the highways. Like people are like, I'm like terrified of the highways. I hate being on the highways. I hate being in the cars. And once I found the bike, it's just been, no registration,
right?
No gas, no insurance. That's just $15,000 in my pocket a year. And before the business kind of taken off, that was a substantial amount. I mean, that's what most people are paying on rent. And I've just found that to be able to, I can get around. I live in a neighborhood, the groceries right there. I've kind of structured my life around not owning a car. And And I can always rent one. If I have to go up to Marion, I can rent one. And people are like, do you have it's like, yes, I have a license.
I can drive.
And then when I showed up to the state house, they thought I was homeless. And then, or like I have like 14 DUIs, because that's what most people assume. You're like either on the verge of homelessness or you have like 14 DUIs and you can't even find somebody to put like the name, your car and their name out of fear you're going to get a DUI in it. And so I've been advocating for mass transit. I've always felt that's one thing Columbus, if we're going to be the big city,
Absolutely.
we'd have to get our transit it has to be more than just a last resort.
Absolutely. Has to be the
So,
first place.
Yeah, and it's like for me, it works out because I can go downtown. But like if I can go downtown, I can hang out for hours, come up here. But let's say I have to be down here 20 minutes. If I've got a job, you start having to transfer lines.
That's right.
What am I going to take? It would be an hour and a half where I could hop in a car, be here in 20.
How many miles are you biking a month?
I could draw 5,000 a year.
And how many times have you done it to Marion? Ridden all that?
I have not done it to Marion yet. That's one
Really?
thing. That's one I need to do. The furthest I've done it from here to Cincinnati. And then I've ridden from here to Centerburg. It's like the halfway, like right south, just south of Mount Vernon. But you can actually go from Cleveland to Cincinnati. They call it the Ohio to Erie Trail.
Yeah.
304 miles, mostly on like segregated bike paths. And so I need to complete that. But you can get anywhere. Like once you get used to it and your car's going by you, you get used to it. And then at those speeds, it's going to be quick.
Yeah.
If it ever happens, it's going to be quick. But knowing my luck, I'll be strung up like a piñata. I'll have the BTE and then everybody can come in and like, laugh at me. I won't even have the decency to like shuffle off and become a martyr. I'll just be some piñata, but it's healthy. It saves money. It rocks.
It's the way to go.
Yeah.
And hopefully more people will be doing it.
Yeah. And I would say anybody casually, e-bikes are another great anime.
Absolutely.
Hilltop Husband, she's got this bike. You can put $180 worth of groceries on it.
How fast does it go?
40 miles. It's like you can get up for like 40 miles. Like, and that's the other thing I hate about the people on the trails and this thing. I mean, those things are big.
Yeah.
It's if you're not pedaling,
yeah,
you need to be on the road.
Correct. Correct. It's not a bike. So we talked about the start of, the Rooster.
Yeah.
And being visible.
Yeah.
When were you starting to hang out at the State House?
Yeah. January 3rd, 2023.
That recent?
Yes. That recent. So there was a big speakers race. And I got this picture of Derek Marin with Wes Goodman. He's from Cardington, this rising anti-LGBTQ star. Ended up, having romances with men in his office. And there was a picture of them. Somebody that took the picture knew exactly what they were getting in this picture. And a guy, one of my friends from 11 Warriors had sent it to me. I get my best tips early, like late Friday night. It's funny how that works. So he sends me this picture. I'd never seen it. And next day he's like, "Oh, please." I'm like, I'm going to run like this is a backdoor smear campaign on this guy. Like the speaker's vote isn't settled. And he's like, "Oh," he's like, "Please don't. And so I'm like, all right, I don't burn sources. Okay. I showed it to one person on the Democratic side who is like kind of in the opposition research just to kind of see, is this something like known? They had never seen it. And so I was like, okay. So I did all my research. I found it was like a Marriott in Boca Raton or whatever. And then somebody on a Democratic on the lobbyist side on New Year's Eve came to me and was like, "Have you seen this picture?" And I was like, "Is it a picture of Boca Raton?" And they were like, "Boca Raton? We thought this was Zambezi Bay." I was like, "There's a 75-foot palm tree in the background, but there's a very unique slide." So we geolocated. So I had everything ready to go. I went back to my other friend. I said, "Hey, look, it's out. I'm running it." He said, "Thanks for the heads up." I said, "Can he lose?" He's like, "Derek Marin lied to the caucus." And so originally it was New Year's Eve, 2022. And my original plan was, I just want to ruin this guy's New Year's Eve. Just want to ruin his New Year's Eve. I just want to make his people deal with it. It turned out his dad had died a couple of days prior. I didn't know that. I probably still would have done it. But it was just to basically ruin this guy. If you know anything about Derek Marin and just what he's about, it's just would have been a disaster. And so I printed it on New Year's Eve. Basin Waves was one of the most read articles at the time. And the day of the speaker's vote, I'm literally, I'm like, because I'm smoking like industrial amounts of marijuana, and I like it, like high grade marijuana. I'm like, what's the last thing these people think? What's the last thing they're gonna think? I'm gonna go up to the state house. I'm gonna ride my bike. I was living on the south side, so I rode my bike up there, reeking of weed. These people are looking at me like a sewer creature. Jenna Powell, who had beaten me 2 years prior, she's talking to her parents, and she like turns around outside the chamber, and she looks at me, and like just like the look on her face was like, "What is he doing here?" And Derek was like taking photos with supporters. I thought it was going to be like, he had held on, and because everybody from around the state had come to see the coronation of this king. And that was the day Jason Stevens and Allison Russo combined with the Blue 22. Derek Marin falls through a pit of alligators. I had it the whole step of the way. I was the only one to have reporting on it until Gone War had a couple hours before the vote. It was in flux. And so from that, and then I just realized it's high school.
Right.
It's watch Mean Girls. Go home, watch Mean Girls. If you want to understand the Ohio legislature, watch Mean Girls. Only it's just the worst people from high school that have hung around, and they think, oh, I deserve respect because I've knocked over a couple rooms of people in Applebee's country, and I come down here and you got to call me representative. And then sitting there, and then I was like, oh, like these people don't know who I am. We got to change this. I realized I could run the same play I ran in high school. But it's really like it didn't start hanging out there till a couple months later. I'm on the patio, 945 Sullivan Avenue, oldest bar in the oldest neighborhood, smoking cigarettes on Sullivan Avenue, like a real cool guy with my friend Joe. He's as far on the right as I'm left. We've had some clashes in the past. And he goes, "You ever heard of a First Amendment audit?" And I'm like, well, I'm intrigued. It's an interesting, I'm
Let's talk.
And he goes, "Go home on YouTube and watch them." He goes, "You'd be good at it." So, I'm like intrigued. And I go home and I watch them. These guys, they go into like police stations, post offices, libraries, and they film. And they try to basically what happened to Mike Newman, they try to get that to happen to them. And it's like, I've worked at the post office. I was like, these people deal with enough. Like, I'm not trying to hassle.
Correct.
You know what I mean? I'm not trying to hassle regular people going about their day. I'm sure as hell not going into a police station.
Yeah.
But then him, I was eating a house taco. I was like, but I am trying to like run a First Amendment audit on the State House. And there's such a wide, they have an agreement up there with the editors of the legacy publications that like, we don't have to talk unless we don't want to.
Right.
And we only talk about what we want. If we say this is going to be about Somali daycare fraud, then that's what it has to be. And they will literally complain to the bosses if reporters step out of line. And so, before there was like a playbook on me up there, it was like shooting fish in a barrel. People were like, it was just easy. And it's just such an exploit. Like I'm a written word guy. I don't understand what, but video, for better or worse,
That's right.
it's one thing to read about how Bill Dean doesn't think a husband can rape his wife if they live together. It's another to see him confronted after the vote, the callous laughter, the chuckling, the snarling at me. Do you ever shut up? No. Until I bully him all the way outside the State House, and he just straight up admits. And he just looks at me, and it's like, you believe a husband can rape his wife? And him turning and saying, not if they live together under the same roof. And it's just like, okay, like that. There he goes, folks. And hanging on him, he went down as like rep spousal rape. And then Nathan Manning the next day, but comes to the Senate, he stands up in front of his caucus and he's like, if you're thinking about voting against this, why don't you go watch what the Rooster did to Bill Dean? And it's just and now I've come to the point where if it's not on video, it doesn't count.
Huh.
And it's just better. You can see the reactions. You can see the micro reactions. I can go back and watch the tape and I can see them processing. I can figure out their pressure points, see how they handle it. And it's just, I really do think that the legacy media, and I'm supplemental and they do things I can't, and I do things they can't. It's a supplemental, but I really do think they do a disservice by just seeding the video ground, where it's like you go to Congress, it doesn't work like that.
That's right.
Speaker Huffman, most powerful politician in the state, he only has to speak 15 minutes after a couple weeks. Like in a public building, you have seeded that ground, and they're actively trying to peel some of that ground back for me. But
What's it like for you up there now, today, 3 years later?
Well, at first they thought I was going to get bored and do something else.
We're hoping.
They were hoping. And, honestly, if I ever get divorced, God forbid, I'll make a beeline for Washington, D.C.
You said that.
But now they've accepted me, and it's like, you better have a game plan for me. And I think there's some game plan now where it's like, come up to me, call me DJ, shake my hand, and like say like I appreciate how you hold people accountable. It's like people don't lose elections on my reporting, like I pretty much just make fun of them. But it actually makes me more suspicious. Like you can come up and like try to butter me up, like but for better or worse, like the days of, and that's why I've been able to up my reporting, because the only thing these people hate each other more than each other, and this works at the city hall, this works at the state house. The only thing that they hate more is an outsider,
right,
than each other. And now I'm no longer an outsider. And somewhat like the Republicans at the state house honestly know how to use me better than a lot of the Democrats on the city level, because they figured out like they can put stuff in, and if our interests align, like I'm down to be used. You know what I mean? Like I'm 100, use me. And that's kind of how I've been able to build my sourcing up. And that has been the objective, of just building on what I have, because in this, I've got the attention, I've got the people that hate me, which are worth just as much as the people that love me. And now it's just kind of evolving and building it up, because the worst thing you can be in this game is boring and staying the same.
Are you a journalist?
I would say I'm a concerned citizen who sometimes engages in active journalism. Like to the average person, like, they're the only journalism, like the only journalist in the state, like da 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 da. I wouldn't say that. Journalism is there are certain rules and like codes and like norms,
sure,
that I refuse to follow, that I think have come back, that so many washouts from the journalism industry have gone to carry water for the other side, that they use those norms and stuff. And like me, like they'll ask me like, well, like, why don't you get a press credential? One, the press corps is a lot like everybody else. There's some that like me, some that want to throw me in a volcano. Two, I have no interest in going on the House floor, because that's the least interesting part. But then I would have to stop advocating for issues. And I'm never going to be like, well, this side wants to stomp out trans children. This side says like, maybe we shouldn't do that. Like, I'm a heat-seeking missile in regard. I wear my agenda on the sleeve, and I'm never going to try to both sides issues. Like if there's BS happening, like I'm going to advocate for BS. I'm going to advocate against it. And I also, because of my schedule, like I would love to be, just some hardened, 1930s columnist, but I have to mix opinions with hard news reporting, because I have to put out a letter. It's like selling drugs. You have to have it on time every day, keep the wheel moving. So I wouldn't say, it's and there's journalists that say I'm cheap imitation, whatever, but like you look at some of my reporting on Ohio State, especially the Tierra Ross stuff, the map deal with Rob McCauley and his 90,000 voters. I mean, how is that not journalism? But is it something that I would, say? I'm a journalist. I don't feel comfortable saying that. They have their wing and I have mine.
And I think all that's changing anyway.
Yeah, it is. At the end of the day, like I've got the respect of the streets. And
Funny you said
that is in me more than.
I think sometimes people, I just had this conversation about you last week. You aren't there to, first of all, you're not interested in trying to use who you are and what you know to be at certain places and spaces. You're not interested in social climbing. You're not interested to be part of that scene.
No.
But also you are, you're always going to speak your truth, like, period. That's just the way that's always going to go. But when I talk to people about who you're talking to and what your message is about, it isn't necessarily for people who are in the know of what's what. It's really about all of the people who are out there who want to hear it straight and who don't know all of the backstories like you and I do.
Yes, and I think that's kind of my talent is that I'm able to take that stuff, the back room,
Yep.
um, palace intrigue, and translate it into the honky hog talk of y'all learning marrying.
Yeah.
And I think that's my power. And then like yesterday, Rick and I were at Cane's. I won't say which one, but like the manager came up and like it's just like I'm so appreciative of you. Like I follow all your work and stuff like that. And to me, like, that's what it's about. It's do the insiders come to me? Yes, because I'm the only kind of that does the insider reporting. But my ultimate goal is to just to inspire just regular people. Like
They have a
our leaders are not covering ourselves in glory right now.
Right.
And if am I on the Democratic side? Am I on the left? Yes. Do I think we would be better if we elected Democrats? Absolutely. But California, Illinois showed that's not the end, that's not the be all end all. And the work will always continue. And so I just try to show people, everyday people, who come home from jobs that they're underpaid, overworked, and the last thing they want to do is sit down and contemplate these people. So you have to like kind of make it entertaining too. And that's kind of like at the core mission. And I found that, as people have gotten to know me, I get on camera more. And I'm not just some guy talking like a cult leader, sending little missives. That my personality can win people over in the long run, which has been something that I've heard all going back all the way to high school.
So now, fast forward, they try and fold you in a little bit more. You've always had your eye on the city stuff, also.
Yes, and that's like so. I was talking to my friend the other night, and Columbus, and this is the punishment for my like life of sin that I lived before. That now I have to like contemplate all these people, and I have to like live here, and like I'm locked into like what am I going to do? Go like Hills Half Hours wants to move Ireland. What am I going to do there? Like deliver mail? Like Columbus, Ohio, as far as like investigative journalism or just like intrigue, is a paradise. And it really has taken me the last full year to grasp it as my sourcing. You have the State House, which is just, it is what it is. And then down literally a block, you have the Columbus Denver. And the State House is more transparent because I can just go in there and hang out. Does my sourcing come from like me screeching on Twitter? Well, I can't even screech on Twitter anymore, but sending 500 tweets a day? No, it comes from like being up at the State House, seeing somebody, dropping a card, having a conversation, and then, hey, I appreciate your work, but like if we see each other again, like we can't be seen talking. Like, okay, that's cool, that's fine. You build those relationships up there at the state or at the city hall. You talk to there used to be reporters hanging out all the time. There used to be, you can't hang out, you can't build sourcing, and the legacy media is just, I guess they accept that they don't lean. And I guess it starts with the mayor, and and city hall is a workspace. The State House is a workspace. 135 people work there, plus their staffers. Like people are coming and going. And at the State House, or at City Hall, you have to show an ID, even just to attend a meeting. And then, that gets leaked to Russian hackers. Well, that's great. It's just way less transparent. And then on top of that, which the Epstein files have kind of driven home, you have the corporate stuff going on with like Leslie Wexner as Jeff Epstein's number one boy. Chairman emeritus, I don't know, I'd be using a lot of words I only read, of the Columbus Partnership and the stuff that goes on there. So like, it's at the point now where it's just so I get messages, people are showing up to my house, like acting like, I'm bad, like wanting me to like acting like I'm Batman. I got this story, I got the hotline, I need you to take down this prison warden. And so it's almost becoming too much to manage, but it really highlights just what we've lost in terms of just the legacy media that has dwindled in this city, that has allowed guys like Wexner to operate in the open, basically. Like this isn't a revelation to anybody who's been paying attention for 40 years.
Right. It's not new. So let's talk about the last 3 months. So since mid-December, and let me know if I'm missing anything, there's a pretty viral fight with a World Series baseball player, former World Series baseball player.
Yeah.
Another person whose name we'll never say on this podcast. You've moved the needle on the Wexner stuff.
Yeah.
You've been banned from Twitter.
Yep.
And you've had a viral incident, an assault, go viral on social media that I think I saw on ABC Nightly News one night and CNN.
Yeah, yeah.
And that's the last 3 months.
Yeah, well, and I would also add the Charlie Kirk moment of silence, and then
And let's not forget the Charlie
that
Kirk
was called a
moment.
false rumor at the time, and then
But
turned out,
turns out,
yeah, yeah, and I mean that's the game, you have to you keep like it's like the mining meme where that guy's got the diamonds, you just keep swinging your little ice pick, and then sometimes gold will pop out, and then it's just about getting all the gold in here in the little satchel, and rising up to the next level. And I've consistently been like, if you look up the business line, as I call it, every jump, like you can like point out some certain moments. I've been able to maintain that jump and convert people. And so like people say it's like 10% of your paid subscribers, 10% of your free subscribers are paid on Substack. You have like a viable product, and I'm over like 20%. So it's been about building. These last 3 months, have been, I guess my friends asked what's better, the State House beat or the Ohio State beat. And I guess I kind of undersold what's going on at Ohio State with that. And that has also come to the head too. And so that's why you do the work, you chisel until the big stuff comes out, and then you can seize it.
Is it weird though being a story now? Because seeing you doing interviews on news and all of that, like there is a part of this now where you're becoming the story.
Yeah. Oh, and see, that's another code of the journalistic creed that I violate. But it's at the end of the day, it's part of the showmanship that goes into building the successful business. And that's what and that's why I'm able to have the following that I do. I've joked with Newman the other night. I was like, I'm gonna owe Perez a Christmas card. Like, I understand you're not gonna be sending him a Christmas card, but I owe him a Christmas card. Just because he threw a national spotlight on my work right when all the Wexner stuff is breaking.
That's right.
So I don't think his bosses will be smiling upon that. But
so what's a day in the life right now? And I know no two are the same, but
it's honestly right now it's just been a lot. It's become like it's legitimately becoming a detriment to my marriage. And that's something I've been trying to work on like cognizantly, because Hilltop husband, she works a high stress job, defending injured workers. And then I'm out all day, on my incognito stuff, doing, running my little missions. And then she gets off work, and then I come home and I still have to write a newsletter.
Right.
5 nights a week. And then so I'm sitting there, and then I'm tired, and then she's tired. And it's getting, after this, I'm hoping after this trustees meeting coming up in March, we'll go to DC, we'll get Jim Jordan on camera. And then I'm hoping like, take a break a little bit, but breaks are bad for business,
right?
Because it's like the hamster wheel; it has to keep turning. So I mean, like today, for instance, I got downtown. I interviewed a congressional candidate Democrat from 14th district, wants to run against Dave Joyce. He's running against Bill O'Neill. Interesting guy. I'd say the most Chinese congressional candidate we're gonna have. He was like a brewer. He like led the largest foreign-owned brewery in China. Really interesting guy, speaks Mandarin, and then he's coming back running here. So I interviewed him, went, got coffee, I was like, oh, I thought it's supposed to be here 1:30. I'm supposed to be here 1. So I'm waiting on the 8, caught some people out, come up here. Then I'll go downtown. Gonna speak on our good friend Mayor Suburbs tonight at City Council. And then I'll probably go to a Narcotics Anonymous meeting on Bellows Avenue at like 10. And then come home and, maybe watch Chicago PD or something with Hilltop husband. But it's a grind, but honestly, it's an honor. Like, it's the honor of a lifetime to do it, because like, it doesn't feel like work.
Yeah.
Outside when I'm trying to spend time with my, and I got sources calling and stuff, but it's,
I think that's the. So when we met the first time and had coffee, I wasn't sure what to expect. And I think a lot of people think they'd see
somebody shorter.
Yeah, that too. But I wasn't, you like to have coffee in one of the most visible places downtown.
Oh, yeah.
And which sort of surprised me. And when you walked in, you were a lot quieter than I thought. And that was because you weren't really sure who I was, and the same vice versa.
Yeah, I've never really been called quiet, so I
I
appreciate
know,
that.
right? But here I'm paying, or I'm watching as people are coming in and they're seeing you, and you can see them like, is that him? And you're completely oblivious to that, by the way. You have no idea the number of people that do that.
I was down at the coffee shop. I got recognized at the coffee shop today. So
Yeah. But it's not part of who you are or what you care about, which is really nice, because a lot of people in this city want to be recognized and want the, hey,
Yeah.
how are you, man? And
yeah,
that's not who you are.
no, but it's kind of the deal that I've made with the devil. I was at a perfect level probably like 6 months ago. It was like I have the clout, but like I can still go out in public. But now it's like Hilltop husband and I were in Chillicothe, and she goes, I just know you're gonna get recognized. And literally 2 minutes after she said that, guy goes to that pickup truck, Rooster. And I start dying, and she's just pissed. And then like a lot of it too is just like people come up to me like, oh, you're a legend. Like, I appreciate you. And it's like, I'm just a guy. Like I haven't lived my life perfectly. It's been a straight, like now I'm at a place now where I'm like comfortable with who I am and how I live my life. But it's not like I'm not some legend. I'm not doing something that anybody else can't do.
Right.
I just have a very set of narrow skills, and there was really no other option.
But I don't know that anyone else could do it the way you do it.
It's like I do have a mix, because that's why I could never sell the business, because I am the business.
Yes, exactly.
But I think, if people criticize me on Reddit or whatever, and somebody's like, we deserve better. And it's like, you do deserve better. Like, I wish, I was just relegated to opinions, like, especially in a city this large. But also, you have a camera too.
Right.
Right. So, if anybody else wants to get out there and show me how it's done and be like, this guy sucks, I think I can do better, please, I will.
Good luck.
I will. This town is so much. I need like 100.
You do. We've talked about that. I mean, my parents wish that you were going to Marion, because there's so many things up there that.
Oh yeah. And every time I look at Marion, I'm like, what the hell's going on?
Right. Like, picking a thing. But there really could be 4 of you who are doing different places and spaces, because there's such a lack of what it is that you do.
I'd love to frame, like, Cleveland would be another example. You can really like, and this has been I don't cheer the downfall of the legacy media. We had a good thing going with newspapers, I really feel like. But I remember being in high school, reading the good old Marion Star, and they had a bureau, like a State House bureau guy down there. It was syndicated, but they still had a guy down here. And just seeing the writing on the wall.
Right.
And I look at how much problems I've caused for these people. And it's like, the dispatch is down to 40 people.
I know.
This TV news, they don't really seem interested in doing the investigative thing. And we live in a golden era of corruption. And, people look at, well, people don't want to read about what's going on in Marion. Go to Marion Crime Chronicles.
Correct.
Marion is the gossiping.
Correct. Well, and also, there's no one, back to your advocacy part. I mean, they need help with the water situation that's going on up there.
Yeah.
Like, there's pieces and parts where I think throughout Central Ohio and Ohio, there's a need for you.
Yeah, there's a, they're in a deficit. They elect that
Yes.
auditor.
Yes.
The next guy's out, $5 million deficit. So maybe when I'm retired.
Maybe. Well, and that was going to be my next question. So I want to know if you and Governor DeWine really are best friends, and when he is now going to be done, if maybe he will be part of the Rooster camp.
Yeah, I mean, people are like, is that really the governor? And it's like, yes. I don't know. I'm like, you don't get far in this business by making stuff up. Yeah, the governor and I text. Yeah, I think. Well, he's a political person too, and he understands American people. They love an odd couple.
That's right.
And he does enjoy. I know he gets briefed on my writing every day.
You think you'll stay in touch?
I think so. And when he had the press corps out to the governor's mansion, I texted him. I said, Gov, I think my invite I think it must have got lost in the mail. I was like, I delivered the mail. It happens. Like, and so, one of his aides is talking about, well, I think next year, like, that'll be his last one, like, come up. But it's been tough right now because, he's, at the end of the day, he's still a Republican operative. comes out, says, oh, Les Wexner is
Mm-hmm.
fine, so it's old news, and it's like, oh, okay, well, Gov, we're gonna have to litigate that on camera.
Well, good. Let's talk about that.
Yeah. But it's, and I do think, and I wrote this even before we texted, um, that I think he's going to be the best governor we have for like a long time. Like what
He's the
comes
end of an
next,
era.
because he's like an actual institution. He does have the decency streak. Some of the vetoes and some of the checks, which honestly makes some of his abdication, the Trump calling Obama apes. He had nothing to say on that. The Celeste Wexner stuff. You're not running for office anymore. You know what's
Now's the
going.
time.
You know what's going on. I think he falls a little short on that, but that's why I'm his texting buddy. I'm not his paid campaign advisor.
Great.
So
races to watch between now and November.
It starts at the top,
right?
Everything starts at the top. With Amy Acton, we'll see. I would have said, people were saying she's got no chance. I would have said that probably a year ago. She's gonna have a chance. She's definitely gonna have a chance. So the statewide candidates, you got Sherrod Brown, and then on like the House Democratic side, they're targeting 40 seats, which doesn't, it's like, okay, well, there's still 99. That doesn't give us a,
Right.
like what is
That's
for?
right.
Just eliminating the super majority where these guys, Matt Huffman has the famous quote of, we can kind of do what we want. And so I think just Vivek could still win, but he's going to be a drag on the ticket because I've lived out in Western Ohio. I know these evangelicals. We've lived around Ohio. They're not, a Hindu monotheist named Vivek Ramaswamy, venture capitalist, isn't going to like tickle their fancy. And are they going to vote for Amy Acton? No, but even staying home and the downwind effects that they're going to have, it's going to be interesting. So, and then you've got the primaries. My guy Carl Setzer, met him. There's some guy going against Joyce Beatty. She'll soar through.
Done with that.
And then the big one up that I'll be watching, the Ohio 9th, the Iron Babushka, Marcy Kaptur. There was some inside dealing on the map deal because we went, 13-2 Republican Democrat to a bipartisan map deal. It was frankly better than any Democrat would have expected going into it. And it all had to do with this 9th district and recruiting a congressional candidate to run up there. And so we've got the Madison Sheehan, number 2 from ICE, Josh Williams, who I respect Josh, but it's crazy to think some of the things we were talking about on camera 3 years ago. Now he's running for Congress. And then Derek Marin, my old friend, Mr. Mayor, he's not going to go get a job. So it's going to be a hardcore, like I love Republican on Republican violence. And it's like a smorgasbord of that to set the stage for Marcy Kaptur.
Yep.
It's an R+9 district, R+10. I think. And that was like kind of their red line. And her people told me, we think R+14, we still would have been able to roll the dice. So I think with this district that, Republicans wanted they were very intentional on getting this district, not juicing the district as much as they could because they wanted to get this candidate into the race. I think Marcy Kaptur could have one more rabbit to pull out of her hat.
Let's hope.
So that's one I'm watching.
All right. So Wexner, Ohio State.
Yeah.
You have brought it front and center before any of the files stuff came out, before it hit national.
Yeah.
You've been working a lot to bring awareness around the Strauss, the depositions, all the pieces and parts.
Yeah.
How do you think it unfolds?
I think the most likely scenario is that they hope that Les Wexner croaks, and then they can say, well, we didn't name it after Jeff Epstein's boy. That'd be impossible. We named it after the wife who stayed married to Jeff Epstein's boy. And Abigail Wexner's in those emails too. And then we pulled today, they had the reporting today. There's no contract. It's honorific. Like you would have thought,
they were bound by something.
They could get rid of it tomorrow. No harm, no foul. I'm not in those rooms, and I think Ohio State has just always been, they've rolled everybody, and it's always been our way or the highway. We've rolled everybody, and you guys are just going to screech You hem, haw, shriek, and then you're going to forget about it. Football season is going to start. We're going to fill into it. And if you know anything about the guys leading the survivors, like they're not, some of the happening, there's an NFL Hall of Famer that got involved, a high level Zoom call. This Hall of Famer's, he says, if we don't do something, he's like, I come in peace. I don't want to leave scorched earth behind me. He's like, but if something isn't done and I take the podium at the State House, how do you think Jeremiah Smith's going to react?
That's right.
How do you think these young athletes, these mothers are going to act? And that, I think, is kind of the pressure point where if they start affecting football recruiting.
That's right.
And so it's just been the perfect storm. They buried this stuff in the 90s, brought Gordon Gee back. I mean, we've done reporting that Wexner gets served in 2008 as board chairman. They get that buried. Zeiger gets his a settlement from Epstein and Jane Doe 102, which means in 2008, they at least had an inkling that there were 101 other women with litigious claims against Epstein, who they knew was a seven-figure donor to Ohio State. And it's kind of been karmic in that way, that it's all coalesced around this time when they opened the hospital on Sunday. It's supposed to be the capstone of Wexner's philanthropic efforts throughout his life. And now his name's forever soiled.
Of everything that you have put out, the Zeiger-Maxwell connection to me was one of the most egregious things.
3 years after. 3 years after she's been convicted, his firm, and it's the same lawyer that was is his junior law partner. If you look at he's been sued by former business partners, so you can get like the law firm structure. Nothing happens in that law firm without John Zeiger. And so it was Zeiger's son and Marion Little, his junior business partner, who was defending Les Wexner against the Strauss survivors 2 weeks ago in federal court, 128 pages. He lost that. But yeah, it's amicus. In Twitter law, we said amicus. Filed an amicus brief for a convicted sex trafficker.
Correct.
Against Virginia Guffey, who's pretty much been exonerated, and then Julie Brown, who is basically broke the story for the Miami Herald down in that. And so let's see that. If that's all enough, let's see the amicus brief for Ghislaine Maxwell. And this has been the guy steering Ohio State through the Epstein storm. And if he had any shame, he would have resigned. If he actually cared about the university, he would resign. If Wexner actually cared about the university, he would say, it's no money off my back.
That's right.
If you are my boys and I'm embarrassing you and I brought shame upon this house, if I care about this, take it down. There's no contract.
That's right. So my legacy and the ego.
And I think, that would be one way for him to absolve himself and kind of be like, show some remorse.
Correct.
I watched the deposition. They asked him, you realize this doesn't happen without your money. He's like, well, Epstein was a crook. No reflection of just the stuff that he has caused and just the invulnerability these guys feel to walk around. You can just tell he's never used to like being questioned.
That's right.
And the next deposition, I don't think Ohio State, I think they're going to try to settle with the survivors. I don't think they're going to let him be deposed again.
I hope they do right by the survivors, whatever that means for them. Whatever they are looking for, I hope they get that from Ohio State.
Yeah, I know I've talked with the guys and they pretty much want, what Larry Nassar's survivors got. Because they've said, look, like, they feel that they've been maligned because it's men. And everybody looks, how is UFC legend, like Mark Coleman Hammer, how is he assaulted? Because they're men. And then they just had to deal with 6 years of gaslighting.
Correct.
I talked with Steve Snyder-Hill, a survivor, yesterday at the rally, and he said he reported Strauss in 95 and only learned 24 years. And they called him a liar, said, you're mistaken, went 24 years thinking, maybe it was a wallet I felt pressing up against me, was his quote. And then 24 years later, he sees Strauss, learns that a fellow student had reported Strauss 3 days prior to him. And then and by the way, Les Wexner is a trustee at this time, and he's on the chairman of the trustees personnel board. They bury it. And then Gordon Gee allows Strauss to retire with emeritus status, Demetrius, whatever, status in 97 that he uses to continue his abuse in private practice. And then when this is what they're telling survivors, we're at a completely different university. We can't be held accountable. This is a whole new different, university. They rehire E. Gordon Gee, who's cited 33 times in the Perkins Coie report, and culpable. He says, well, I was the president. You were the president because you took the ride on it, brother. You knew about the allegations in 96. You didn't do anything. You allowed him to retire quietly in 97. He continues abuse basically until the day he hanged himself in 2005. And now you're being brought back as the wingman.
That's right.
To President Ted Carter. And we're engaging in cancel culture. Well, have you ever talked to Mr. Wexner about Epstein? No. And that's another power of video. You see him mumbling, fumbling, fumbling.
Nervous, anxious.
and then he gets up, and then defends the assault on the cameraman and continues to and that's the video I'll probably drop later today because I got to go home do some video editing. It's just the gaslighting. It's just insane. And that's how it's just always worked in this town.
It is. And continues to in some levels.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for being on. The very last question I always ask everyone. Your answer is going to be...
No, I've been thinking about this all day. I don't...
So, I guess, how would you describe the Columbus Way?
The Columbus Way... God...
Juice pies.
Yeah, the Columbus Way is just, it's just a cocktail circuit. Like the Columbus Way is the powerful taking care of each other, getting into clubs, the city council system where it's like, you want to run for office. Well, you got to go talk to this person, this person, this person, and this person. Well, who are those people? They never want to say that part, but it's like the Columbus Foundation, and you go to the parties and you keep your criticisms off of Facebook, or else you'll get a call from Judge Eileen Paley. She'll stand up to those people, but you won't stand up to ICE in her courthouse. And you kind of just show you can be trusted and you can keep your criticism and be a loyal soldier. And that's how you gain power. And, that's why I just respected Jesse Vogel and his campaign. And it works with that. It works in the local politics. It works in the corporations. And there's just so much. And that's why people don't like me. Because there's no way they can get to me now. Like there's no job that I work. There's no independent donor that they can go after. There's no, my wife, her firm works in Cleveland. Right. They can't get to me. Otherwise they would have.
It's terrible.
And I think that ultimately signifies the Columbus Way and why I'm able to do what I do. Because I learned when I did my reporting on Ira Meyer, everybody's connected in this city.
That is 100% true.
Everybody's connected in this city. And that's why, I appreciate you even just having me on, because I know that, there's, I'm sure some people, you might hope Judge Paley doesn't give you a call.
I'm not above having been, definitely had my hand slapped, as several times by the city. I know what that's all about. But I appreciate when I asked you to come on, you were like, are you sure? I don't want to damage your brand or make any of your associates upset. And, you've always been very careful to never put me in a bad situation and always been.
I don't even know who I'm talking to now that I think about it.
I know. You're also going like, hey, you've been very careful to not, or to be sensitive and respectful of how we associate with one another. And I'm out there telling everybody, I'm like, I know who he is. And people are always like, oh my gosh, what's he like? They're always kind of taken aback, or you're definitely an enigma.
Yeah.
In and around this.
I had lunch with a politician at Tommy's not too long ago, and they're like, everybody's trying to figure you out. And it's like, they're like,
it is what it is.
It is pretty, and people think like I am like this, and like I just straight up have to be an asshole sometimes. But like, and like that, I guess I do have that in me, but like I'm so risk adverse, like in my because I was raised in an alcoholic home where you just lied and shit, and you just kind of got along. Like I'll go to like Wendy's and like if they put something else, maybe I ordered it. Like they're like, okay, like I guess
I'll make it work.
I don't like somebody listen to TikTok full blast on the Hateful Eight over there. I'm just like, vibrating with everybody I want. Like, I'm just so actually risk adverse. And so there's, you know, there's the part that it's good for business, that part, but it's not really who I am. I appreciate you taking the time to peer under the hood. And I hope I didn't disappoint or say anything, but
My gosh, stop it. I appreciate you being on, and I do think you're the most famous person to come out of Marion, and I also think the work that you're doing.
Warren G. Harding has a claim too.
Mary Ellen Withrow maybe too, but
Yeah.
I do think the work that you do is really, really important, and you move the needle, I think, more than you know.
Oh, yeah. The word moving the needle's never been the problem. And now it's just about keeping my juvenile instincts in check and keep climbing the ladder. And because this city's not going to change anytime soon. So I'm in it for the long game.
And I guess we should end with saying "Free the Rooster" on X.
Yeah, Elon, I think it's time. We got Trisha McLaughlin out of the Elon, I think it's time, brother. Trisha McLaughlin, she's gone. She lost her crybaby line. She's got to go get a job. I'm willing and waiting. 28,000 followers, ready to go. Otherwise, we're starting a text service next week, and we're gonna circumvent you. I'm gonna make some money. So
You heard it here first. Thank you.